Good morning. You're watching the KOM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, yesterday was Election Day. We'll hear from some local election officials as well as have some of those results for you.
Also, a new study shows the impact that art can have on your mental health.
And warm and windy. I've said that several times here over the last week and a half, and look at the cameras shaking the wind. However, things are about to change. We'll talk about your first forecast coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Amber Jenkins.
I'm Chris Warner. It is just after 7 a.m. on this Wednesday morning. We are halfway through the work week.
Almost there.
Almost, but not quite. Somebody in this building was laughing at us a second ago. I heard it.
I'm sure they laugh at us a lot. So.
Trevor's raising his hand, but he's too quiet. This was distant. I know what's going on.
Well,
I knew it. It was Tim just confessed. He laughed because I said something not even funny. Whatever, Tim. Remember, I know where you work. But, you know, it is an election year.
Yes, it was election day yesterday. And although it was an odd election year, the director of elections in Crawford County says voter turnout depends on what's on the ballot. I had the opportunity to talk to a few election officials about the impact of local elections have on their communities.
The turnout is generally north of 20%, sometimes 25%. Kind of depends on how contested a race is. For example, this election, it seems like the UST 250 race is a little more active than I expected.
Along with school board races, Crawford County voters will also decide on bonds and council members.
And obviously, their local elections affect us directly a lot more than even state or national in most cases, because these offices are interfacing with voters and the electorate on a day-to-day basis. It might be people we know.
We don't get a whole lot of choices on things, but this is, and especially on a local election. This is for city and school board. They have a little more direct contact with us.
Whether it's a national or local election, poll workers make sure to keep voting accessible through curbside voting, express balloting, and more.
It's a lot easier when we have, we can help basically anybody now. Even if you show up in the wrong precinct, we can still help you.
You can also find election results on our website at komnewsnow.com.
We've got a lot of election results on there, so check that out. And of course, we've got more election results. You're going to have those for us in just a moment, and I'm going to have a look at your forecast right now. Here's a live look from our camera on top of the Cornell Complex in downtown Joplin, and you can see that we've got a beautiful start to the day. It is quite windy, and it's going to stay that way as we head through the afternoon. Murdoch camera, it's on a road. It's down there. It says right there. We have also got clear skies from there as well. And as we take a quick look outside, 67 in Joplin, 65 in Pittsburgh with those clear skies. Bear in mind, our average high is 62 degrees, if that gives you any idea as to just how warm we are and how much warmer we're going to get. Breezy conditions. Now, for drivers, this is actually kind of important. Our winds are going to shift out of the west by this afternoon. They'll still be gusting 35 to 40 miles an hour, but if you're traveling, just be aware of that wind shift that's going to happen a little later today. Temperatures once again right around 80, low 80s definitely possible out there. Partly cloudy as we head into the evening, still breezy, and then we have a cold front coming in tonight, and that's going to put our temperatures back to fall-like levels, at least for a few days. We'll have more on your full forecast here in just a few more minutes.
Thanks, Chris. We begin our coverage in Barton County, Missouri. A proposal there would impose a local use tax and reduce the sales tax. Voters said yes to that idea. A proposed 0.5% sales tax on the ballot in Girard, Kansas would help fund fire and police departments and go to other government purposes. Voters there voted yes to that idea. Voters in Chanute, Kansas approved a 0.25% sales tax proposal. It's to benefit economic development and infrastructure. Thayer, Kansas voters also approved a 0.25% sales tax. It goes to general revenue. Labette County, Kansas voters consider a 1% sales tax hike to relieve property taxes. That proposal passed by a wide margin. A nearly $10 million bond proposal in Allen County, Kansas would fund improvements to the courthouse. It fails by a wide margin. with a vote of 193 yes and 607 no. And some people voted on school bonds. In Anderson County, Kansas, a nearly $6 million proposal would pay for improvements and construction in the Crest USD 479 school district. Voters approved that plan. And voters in Uniontown, Kansas had two bond issues on the ballot for USD 235. One proposal would provide up to $5.6 million for renovations, additions, furnishings, and other improvements to various facilities. That proposal failed to pass. The other Uniontown issue was nearly $3.5 million plan for an ag science classroom, metal shop, and construction science shop at the junior-senior high school. Voters said no to that idea. In the race for mayor in Baxter Springs, Kelly Abbott won, edging out Sherry Brown. In the city of Chautauqua, Ryan Darnell will be the mayor. Ryan Darnell defeated Tammy Bushlong. Jerry Grant won by a significant amount over Chad Ruddick over mayor of Scranton. Up next, there may be new hope for breast cancer patients. We'll hear more about the potential new drug created to help with prevention. And later, Anthony Saviello will share with us how the city of Miami and its businesses have high hopes for the holiday season. You're watching the KOM Morning News on Fox 14. In Health Watch this morning, U.S. public health officials are calling for urgent action to cut an alarming increase in the number of babies born with syphilis. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that more than 3,700 babies were born with syphilis in the U.S. in 2022. That's a 32% increase from the year before and a 1,000% increase since 2012. The CDC says a new number are the highest reported in the U.S. in more than 30 years. A single course of penicillin given at least a month before the end of pregnancy nearly always prevents infected mothers from passing the bacteria to their babies. A drug commonly used to treat breast cancer has been licensed to prevent it in England. UK health officials are licensing the repurposing of hormone-based therapy known as Arimidex in the US. The drug, with the generic name anastrozole, has been used as a breast cancer treatment in England for years but has not previously been used as a preventative drug. A 2019 study found it could reduce the presence of breast cancer in postmenstrual women with a high risk of developing it by 49% over 10 years. Anastrozole will be available to women across the UK who are at increased risk for breast cancer. Around 289,000 women could be eligible for the drug for the prevention of breast cancer, which is the most common cancer in England. When was the last time you went to an art museum? Some neuroscientists say it might be the perfect place to help you get a positive boost in your mental health. Fox News' Gary Baumgarten takes a look at the unique project helping people see the impact of art on their brains.
The National Institutes of Health says rates of anxiety and depression have only increased since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, and while there's growing calls to make mental health care more accessible and affordable, a new project is highlighting the positive effects visiting an art museum can have on our mood.
Engaging with art is potentially a very good thing for our well-being.
The Courtauld Gallery in London is using special headsets, letting visitors see how their brains react in real time when they look at paintings that they think are beautiful.
If you find beauty in a piece of art that engages the part of your brain toward the front there, and that part coincides with regions that are usually targeted in sort of clinical treatments for things like depression, and it's also a seat of other signals for reward and pleasure and the concept of the self.
Previous research has also found that our brains release a neurotransmitter called dopamine when we view something we find attractive. The Cleveland Clinic says dopamine can make us feel good.
It's a great way to bridge the worlds of science and art.
A recent study commissioned by Art Fund, a British-based charity organization, found
95% of people agree that going into an art gallery and looking at beautiful art is good for us. But what we found is that 4 in 10 people actually only go once a year or less.
officials hope that the headsets can shed light on how art can benefit our brains. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Honestly, I love museums, so I think just going to a museum, period, can just give you a mental health boost. I went to a museum in Nashville last month. It was the African American Museum of Music. It was pretty cool. But now, here's Chris with your weather.
Yeah, another warm and windy day. I think that makes about 200 times in the last week and a half that we've had to describe the day as warm and windy, but you can see from our camera on the Cornell complex downtown, it is shaking in the breeze. This is our last warm day, though. We do have a cold front that's going to be rolling through tonight, and it's going to shake our temperatures up a bit across the area. We'll have more on that here in just a couple of minutes, and we're going to have some more of our top stories from the 4 states, including some good news about a couple of local firefighters injured while fighting a fire in Newton County. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Coming up on 7:16 on this Wednesday morning, a live look from our camera on top of the Cornell complex in downtown Joplin. We've been watching it shake in the breeze out there as the winds continue to be rather gusty. MoDOT camera 20th in range line. Those clear skies out there, plentiful sunshine, and still breezy conditions. And I love how the grass and everything looks in this view from the KDOT camera on 69 just south of Pittsburgh. But again, also quite windy. Clear skies, plentiful sunshine, but plentiful wind. 67, south breeze at 21, gusting to 29. Even our camera is shaking a little bit in the strong winds, and they're going to stay that way through the rest of today into tonight before we'll finally start to see a little relief out there. 63 Yates Center, 62 Iola, 65's Neodesha, Chanute, Parsons, 66 Pittsburgh, Fort Scott, Lamar, 67 in Carthage, and 69 Miami and Grove. We get our morning started. We're going to have those clear skies, breezy, south winds gusting 35, potentially 40 miles an hour, mid-70s by late morning. Highs at 80, perhaps slightly above, and for travelers, be aware the winds are going to shift out of the west later this afternoon, but still be gusting at around 35 to 40 miles an hour. Breezy, mild, partly cloudy through the evening, then our cold front comes in, drops us back into the upper 40s for our overnight lows, and tomorrow we go well below average, mid-50s for our highs. Mostly cloudy skies, maybe a stray shower or two along and south of I-44. As our temperatures, though, return to fall-like normals right around the mid-60s heading into the weekend, that means our overnight lows do the same thing, so expect some pretty chilly starts to the days ahead as we fall back into the upper 30s and low 40s across the area. All right, Christmas. It's just about here, and in many places it's been here for 2 or 3 weeks. And business owners, in collaboration with the city of Miami, are making Miami the go-to destination for Christmas this year. Our very own Anthony Saviello has more.
If you're not blasting Christmas tunes on the radio yet, then you might be behind on the festive celebrations, especially when compared to the town of Miami. Businesses along Main Street are decorating and feeling the Christmas spirit, all as a part of an effort to bring life back to the city.
One thing I've learned through the Main Street program is how important our downtown area is. When industry comes in and looks at your town and looks at what they want to put in, they look at your downtown area and your schools.
Keisha Lawson spearheads the project, and through her enthusiasm, many within the community are ready to bring Christmas back to Miami.
When Keisha came to me with it and her enthusiasm for it, she really was motivating. And it's something that the owners of chapters have always been very passionate about downtown and promoting and building downtown. And so instantly I was on board.
The revitalization of the downtown area of Miami doesn't start and stop with Christmas, but when is a better time to do this than the most wonderful time of the year?
Absolutely wonderful. It's after, like I was talking about, those little corners of teams all throughout Miami. The Miami Main Street team has worked a tremendous amount of hours and put a tremendous amount of effort into these projects. You'll see Keisha walking all over the city.
Places like the Coleman, Chapters, and the Donkey's Den are leading the charge in revitalizing downtown Miami, especially when it comes to Christmas.
So we hope to revitalize our downtown where it's something that people come for a destination and they like, Miami has the coolest Christmas stop ever, and we want to go there and we want to shop and we want to see this. And of course our families, as they grow, they're bringing their kids here generation after generation.
Don't be surprised if on your next trip down to Miami, you hear a few jingle bells. Reporting in Miami, Oklahoma, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
Now, Christmas on Main Street festivities will kick off on November 17th. People who visit can enter for a chance to win a $1,000 cash prize. Make sure you get down there and check it out. Well, Veterans Day is right around the corner. We're going to have details on the upcoming Veterans Day parade in Joplin and the road closures that you should be expecting.
Strowler, I'm sorry, is here from Fort Scott this morning to share with us some information about the upcoming Christmas on the Bricks. Welcome and good morning, Diane.
Thank you. Good morning.
Tell me more about what is Christmas on the Bricks?
It is a new event that we have planned in downtown Fort Scott. It's the first weekend of December. We've just created this great event for the community. We want to invite everyone to come. It's the first year. We've planned a lot for this and are very excited about it.
And looking at this flyer that you have, there's a lot of activities, right?
Yes, a lot of activities. So we have horse-drawn carriages coming to town that people can book online. We have different, like a gingerbread decorating contest. We have a live nativity. We have someone that's working on cutouts so people can have a picture with their family, put their faces in. We have a chili feed that'll be downtown. Stores will be open late. We have some hotel packages in case people want to come for the weekend. We have one of the companies made some fire pits so we can have s'mores. A lot of the community is involved. So we have just a lot going on.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. And you said this event is supposed to kick off the parade, or?
Well, the parade is November 30th. The first is the last Thursday of the month. Every year we do have a parade, but we just wanted to add to that. So the parade is the Thursday night. At the end of that, we will light the mayor's Christmas tree. We have a group of kids that will be singing, and then we'll have like a short little fireworks display. So that's the kickoff before the event.
Before the event.
Yes.
Nice. Tell me about if I want to, let's say, participate in any of the contests or just know more information. Where do I go to find this information?
So we do have a website, fortscott.com, and it will have under the event page everything you can sign up for. I encourage people to sign up for the horse-drawn carriages in advance. Those are only $40 for a 20-minute ride. Also on the website you can sign up for the gingerbread decorating contest. There's a paint party that you can sign up for. There is also a class you can take for a bouquet class. So there's several things through the whole weekend. So we're hoping that people come the 1st through the 3rd and stay the whole time and enjoy everything.
Nice. And you said this is happening downtown Fort Scott.
Downtown, yes, on the Bricks, yes.
Nice,
yes,
nice.
yes.
And so tell me about the community cooperation. I know there's probably a lot of planning with the different stores and stuff.
Yes. So we do have, we have 8 wooden booths are being built by CTEC through the college. And so we have local vendors that will be serving things through there. Care to Share will be there with nuts and cider. The local nursery will have wreaths. We have like the Boy Scouts involved. The company that has made the booths for us, and also the fire pits. All the stores are open up late, so they're involved. And we just have groups of volunteers and everyone just coming together, and just hopefully this will be an event that people will want to come back each year. We did have one of the local companies make these sweatshirts for us, so you can go online and pre-order them, but we'll sell them there also. And then also the Artificers, which is our local artist in the town, they have they're creating a small little memorial ornament that looks like a small brick, and it'll say Fort Scott Block, and on the other side will say Christmas on the Bricks. So just a lot of people involved to make this a great event.
That's awesome, and it's the first of its kind, like you said.
In the past they've had the parade, and then also you can go on the tours of the fort. So those You can book packages for those. Those have been there already, but we're just adding it and just making it a better weekend.
Makes sense. Well, just to hash it and let them know, what time is it happening, and it's downtown Fort Scott?
Downtown Fort Scott. So the parade is the Thursday night at 6 p.m. Starting Friday, the booths will be open midday, and so it'll go Friday the 1st all the way through Sunday the 3rd. You can go online to fortscott.com to register for all the events, sign up for hotels, and then also we have a Facebook page, which is Fort Scott Christmas on the Bricks.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Diane, for coming on the show and telling us about Christmas on the Bricks. I'm so excited that this is the first of its kind.
Yes,
it sounds
thank
exciting.
you. We appreciate you having us on.
We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:29. We have some good news concerning 2 firefighters who were injured battling a blaze in Newton County. The fire broke out Monday at a house near Greenburg and Fern Drive. Crews encountered smoke and extreme heat inside. 2 firefighters required medical attention but were treated on the scene, and neither had required the next level of care. Authorities say the contents of the home were a complete loss. The state of Oklahoma is trying to make students and school staff feel safer at school. They're launching a new app called Protect OK. It's free to use and to download. It allows users to anonymously report suspicious activity within their school. There's also a feature to allow friends to track each other's locations to make sure they stay safe. As we move deeper into fall, Spire Energy wants to increase customer assistance funding in Missouri. The move comes as the energy company looks to provide more help to customers who are struggling to pay their bills amidst rising costs. Spire Missouri has committed an additional $500,000 for low-income heating assistance, including weatherization and the critical medical needs program. Last year, Spire provided assistance to customers whose household incomes are up to 300% of the federal poverty level. Visit spireenergy.com/assistance for more details. The Kansas Department of Transportation wants to remind drivers US 166-400 east of Baxter Springs opens up this week. The existing US 166 K26 junction will be closed to traffic tomorrow in order to switch traffic on the US 166-400 realignment and expansion project in Cherokee County, weather permitting. Two-way traffic will be placed on the new eastbound lanes of US 166-400 between Baxter Springs and the Kansas-Missouri border. KDOT is in the process of expanding US 166-400 to 4 lanes and constructing 2 interchanges from US 400 southeast to Kansas-Missouri state line. FEMA says its plans to reimburse city and counties in Kansas that had to repair or replace facilities damaged by severe weather between July 14th and 21st. Allen and Woodson counties are amongst those receiving funds. Under the plan, FEMA would cover 75% of the costs. The city of Joplin wants drivers that are part of Main Street and the city of Joplin wants to tell drivers that the parts of Main Street and Joplin Street will be closed Saturday morning for the 36th annual Joplin Community Veterans Day Parade. The parade begins at 10 a.m. at 15th and Main. From there, it moves north to 3rd Street, turns west until Joplin Avenue, and then heads south to City Hall between 5th and 7th Street. Though portions of the city will be closed off to motorists during the parade, but will reopen by noon. KOM yesterday hosted its final flag swap of the year. Residents of Parsons, Kansas were able to bring their old tattered American flags to Tolan Creek Park across from Walmart and get them exchanged for a brand new one. One of the sponsors of the event says it's a way of giving back to the community.
We absolutely had to sponsor this event, so the American Flag Swap is an important part to make sure that people can take their flags and dispose of them the proper way, and this is our way of giving back to the community, giving back to the veterans of the local Parsons area footprint.
The old flags swapped out yesterday will be properly retired by local scouts on Veterans Day. A couple of Carl Junction seniors earned high school Heisman honors. Seniors Aiden Benchner and Josie Gilbert are the Carl Junction High School winners in the High School Heisman Scholarship Program. They are now eligible to continue in the state and national competitions for the scholarship funds. The Heisman High School Scholarship Program honors the nation's most accomplished, community-minded high school senior athletes.
We've got clear skies out there and breezy conditions. Looking at the MoDOT camera 20th and range line, sunny, clear, but very breezy out there. We're going to see south winds gusting 35 to 40, switching out of the west by this afternoon. And we're going to see temperatures once again well above average, right around 80 degrees out there. We're having a full lecture forecast to talk about a cold front that's on the way here in a few more minutes. Amber?
And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOM Morning News. Washington could be facing the threat of a shutdown. John Lorenick will have the details.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. 'Tis soup season, and one Joplin organization is planning to use soups for a good cause. Stephanie Martin from the Joplin Association for the Blind, right here with us right now this morning to talk about their upcoming chili and veggie soup fundraiser. Stephanie, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thank you.
So tell me first a little about the Joplin Association for the Blind. What all do you do?
This is actually our 100th year anniversary that we're going to be celebrating as well tomorrow, and we'll have the mayor there, you know, and all. But the Joplin Association for the Blind has been in and around since 1923. Wow. That is amazing, because years ago they made brooms and sold those brooms, and they made rag rugs and sold those, and it was just very interesting to find out, you know, some of the history of the Joplin Association for the Blind. I get asked often if I was there that long, if I've been there that long, and I'm
I wouldn't believe
no.
that.
So, but it, you know, it's an organization that definitely wants to provide for our local blind and visually impaired. And on the visually impaired sort of thing, we have the low vision center, where we can do magnification aids and things for the individuals if, you know, if something like that would help them, and usually their doctor will send them to us, you know, for that. But we do that. We have social activities for them on Tuesdays with a luncheon, you know, and we bus them in. So we're there to provide.
Now, speaking of luncheon, this is of course a little different, but you've got a big fundraiser coming up. What's that all about?
Yes, we do. Tomorrow is our annual chili or vegetable soup a fundraiser, and we have a silent auction, a 50-50 drawing we will have, and we'll, you know, we have nuts to sell, pecans, and so, you know, we're just going to be there and hope everybody shows. And it's $8 for adults and $4 for children. So we ask that everybody, you know, come out and join us and help us celebrate our 100th anniversary.
Again, a very special anniversary. So for folks who may not be familiar, where do they need to go, and when is this running from?
All right. I will say 4th and Schifferdecker. The actual address is 311 South Schifferdecker Avenue, but we're right on the northeast corner of 4th and Schifferdecker. Times are 11, I'm going to say 11 to 7, because even if they came between 2 and 4, we would still feed them. You know, some people, that's their hours to eat their evening meal. So we want to be there, and we would love to have all of them out to see us tomorrow.
All right. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And of course, if you missed any of that, worry not. We're going to have all these details on our website later this morning, KOAMnewsnow.com. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 7:42 now on this Wednesday morning, and we are sitting at 67 in Joplin, clear skies and quite breezy. South wind 21 gusting to 29 miles an hour out there. We have a cold front on its way tonight that's going to shake up our temperatures. Talk about that in a moment. 63 Yates Center, Iola, 65 Neodesha, Chanute, Parsons, Sedan, 66 Fort Scott, Independence, Chautauqua, Nevada, and Lamar, at 69 down Miami and Grove is a couple of the warmer spots out there. We're going to be breezy, sunny through the morning, mid-70s by late morning, south wind gusting 35, maybe even upwards of 40 miles an hour. And then for those traveling, just been saying it all morning, but just so you're aware, the winds are going to shift on you this afternoon and start coming out of the west. But they're still going to be gusting 35 to 40 miles an hour. So be aware of that if you're doing some long driving today. Mostly clear skies, few clouds, partly cloudy by late afternoon into the evening. And again, highs 80 degrees, low 80s, definitely possible across the area again. Mild through the evening, breezy, mid 60s, low 60s by 10. Our cold front comes in tonight, kicks our temperatures down into the upper 40s overnight, which is still technically a few degrees above normal. However, tomorrow's high nowhere near normal as we fall back into the mid 50s, mostly cloudy. And then maybe some evening showers along and south of I-44. Unfortunately, this front not bringing a lot in the way of rain, but it is going to put our temperatures back into fall-like status for about 5 days. And then it's going to change again. We're going to go 60s as we head into the weekend. Not bad. Of course, that puts our overnight lows back to normal, back in the upper 30s and into the 40s. So be prepared for that. As we head toward the end of next week, temperatures begin to warm above average again. And at this point, still several days away, but we're looking at maybe some meaningful rainfall by next Friday. That's a quick check of your forecast. Now here's Amber with Consumer Watch.
Volunteering for Elon's Musk chip implant business might be a no-brainer for some people. Back in September, Neuralink announced that they are looking for a volunteer for its first clinical trial. Now, a report says thousands of people seem to be interested in becoming potential patients. The report says the ideal candidate is a quadriplegic who is younger than 40 and wouldn't mind having a piece of their skull taken out to insert wires into their brain. The report says Neuralink is planning to operate on 11 people next year, with the goal of reaching 22,000 people by 2030. The company says its initial goal is to help people with neurological disorders, with eventual plans to bond humans with machines. Discouraging news for potential home buyers. New research shows this is the least affordable housing market since 1984, when Ronald Reagan was president. The report from Intercontinental Exchange shows more of a person's household income goes towards paying a mortgage than in recent years. High interest rates and high costs for housing are to blame. The report shows the trend over the past 35 years was housing costs about 25% of a family's income. Now it stands at nearly 41%. On the flip side, that means existing homeowners are enjoying increased wealth on their properties. A growing number of Americans are cracking into their retirement funds nest egg to help pay their bills. That's according to a report by the Bank of America. BOA says the number of its 401k plan participants pulling cash out from increased by 27% since the first quarter of this year. That's 18,000 people, the highest level in the 5 quarters the bank has been tracking this data. The average withdrawal, just over $5,000. Despite high GDP numbers and low unemployment, Americans are clearly still facing a cash crunch caused by high inflation and rising costs of living. And they're not only tapping into retirement funds. The same report also found that the share of households newly delinquent on credit cards is at the highest level in a dozen years. 9 days and counting. That's how long Congress had to prevent a potential government shutdown. And so far, House Republicans don't have a concrete plan to keep things running. John Lorenick reports.
Washington, D.C. is once again facing a possible financial collapse.
We certainly want to avoid a government shutdown. It's a dangerous time around the world right now. We recognize that, and we're doing our job.
Speaker Mike Johnson and GOP lawmakers in the House went through a series of ideas Tuesday, including a short-term spending bill through January 19th.
Many options that are on the table, and we'll be revealing what our plan is in short order.
If some Republicans in the House are against any sort of short-term spending bill, Johnson would need Democratic support, and that might be an uphill climb.
They want to default on our debt, shut down the government, crash the economy, censure Democrats, and avoid holding their own members accountable. This is who they are.
A government shutdown occurs when Congress doesn't pass funding for the federal government without something like a short-term bill. That could cause many problems for the country, including the halting of construction projects and disruptions in food safety inspections. Johnson has until November 17th to deal with his conference, the Democratic-controlled Senate, and the Biden White House.
Bipartisanship is the word. Just one side passing a bill just with one party and sending it over is not going to be a very good way to move things forward.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning Show on Fox 14. We have Will Morris from the K-State Extension Office joining us in the studio. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Tell me about what's going on at Wildcats Glades, or?
Yeah, so right now the new 4-H year just began in October, so I'm here to tell you a little bit about 4-H and how to kind of get involved and what it is, because sometimes people don't necessarily know exactly what 4-H is. They may have heard of it, but they might not know. So at its roots, 4-H is a youth development organization that really focuses on helping build and teach skills to youth in the community who are 7 to 18 years of age. So we do that through a variety of ways. We have over 35 different project areas that kids can get involved in, and there's all sorts of different focuses and things within those projects as well.
Nice. And if a kid is wanting to join, is it best to find a website, or?
Yeah, so if the kid wants to join, then they would go to the Wildcat Extension District website and click on 4-H, and there's links right there that'll tell you. So 4-H's model is through community-based clubs, so we would have you look at different clubs to join and things like that. So by joining those clubs, you would learn different skills like parliamentary procedure, how to host a meeting, how to be part of a meeting. Since it is youth-led, you would show up and you would see youth that are at the front table who are president, vice president, secretary, treasurer of their club that are leading, hosting that, the kids having discussion, different things like that. So some common skills that can be lost nowadays for people that don't have exposure to it, and so it really helps teach that. A common misconception with 4-H is that it's limited to those who live on a farm or have livestock, which we're really for everybody and have something for everybody through our projects in STEM, food science, photography, visual arts, like all sorts of things. So there really isn't something that you can't find that you would want to be interested in. And if we don't have a project for that, we have this one that's called self-determined, where if a kid has this really niche interest, then they can do a project through that outlet as well.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I think it's so amazing that you guys are teaching them all different kinds of skills and things like that. That's pretty awesome. Well, thanks, Will, for coming on the show and telling us about that. That sounds pretty exciting. Just real quick, if I wanted to join, where do I go again?
So you just go to the Wildcat Extension District website and you click on 4-H and you can join right there.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Will.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. We have some good news concerning 2 firefighters who were injured battling a blaze in Newton County. The fire broke out Monday at a house near Greenburg and Fern Drive. Crews encountered smoke and extreme heat inside. 2 firefighters required medical attention but were treated on the scene, and neither has required the next level of care. Authorities say the contents of the home were a complete loss. The Kansas Department of Transportation wants to remind drivers US 166 400 east of Baxter Springs opens up this week. The existing US 166 K26 junction will be closed to traffic today in order to switch traffic onto US 166 400 realignment and expansion project in Cherokee County, weather permitting. Two-way traffic will be placed on the new eastbound lanes of US 166 400 between Baxter Springs and the Kansas-Missouri border. KDOT is in the process of expanding US 166 400 to 4 lanes and constructing 2 interchanges from US 400 southeast to the Kansas-Missouri state line. The state of Oklahoma is trying to make students and school staff feel safer at school. They're launching a new app called Project OK. It's free to use and to download. It allows users to anonymously report suspicious activity within their school. There's also a feature to allow friends to track each other's location to make sure they stay safe.
All right, highs near 80 today, some low 80s possible. Mostly clear this afternoon and then partly cloudy by late afternoon and evening. Southerly winds gusting 35 to 40 will switch out of the west by this afternoon. Breezy, mild, partly cloudy through the evening. Cold front comes through tonight, drops our temperatures back to the upper 40s. Below average tomorrow, mid 50s, mostly cloudy, maybe a stray shower or two along and south of I-44. Average temperatures heading through the weekend into next week, and then we'll start to warm up again, maybe some rain next Friday. And with our average temperatures, that means average lows back into the 30s and 40s. So get ready for that. It's going to feel like fall for a few days.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. We will be back today at noon.
And have a good day and an even better day. Hey, they knew what I meant.